Hey guys, welcome to week 4. This is Monday's video. We're officially past the halfway point. We have 3 more weeks. Just to give you a schedule at a glance, this week we will be talking about the qualitative research paper some more. You're doing your findings, data coding right now. We're going to jump into discussion section in next video, introductions, conclusion, and then integrating sources. That's the rundown for this week, and then your qualitative research paper is due on Friday at 11:59 p.m. Next week, we will do the op-ed in a full week, so I'll introduce it, and then it'll be due that Friday. That's the last paper, and it's also, I think, the shortest assignment. It's like 700 to 1,000 words. And then the last week will be all about revision. So there'll be a couple of discussions, but mostly it's just going to be time to polish up your final portfolio, which is due on Friday, June 23rd at 11:59 p.m. on eCampus. After that, the class will be over and you can relax a little bit. So hang tough and we will get through this together. Okay, for today's video, we are going to do some more work with coding findings, and I'm going to show you some more examples of bad papers, essentially, and some good papers. The thing that is due today is discussion 12, and I already mentioned this in Friday's video, but just to refresh your minds, I want you to attach a Word document with one of your findings. It should be a chart, graph, table, or some other visual representation of one of your findings. So you're only posting 1 here, and here you're posting 2 to 3, and then in your final paper you will have 4 to 5 findings. Okay, so we're building up your findings. Don't represent yes or no data with a visual. Just put as a bullet point, but I'm specifically asking in this discussion for a visual representation so that I know that you know how to work with the smart art or the chart tools or whatever on Word. If you know another system, by all means use that system. Just make sure it's legible and it's something that you can compile into a Word document later. One note about discussion 11, I'm getting a lot of emails from your peers, from you and your peers, about people who didn't complete the surveys, so they only have 8 or 9 responses. It's really important that you do complete the surveys, especially if it's an honor system. So I don't know if it was accidental because a lot of the surveys are very similar, but in the future, make sure you do the work that I'm asking you to do. I cannot check the survey. I can't check who didn't complete the surveys because, again, it's anonymous, but it's just an honor system type thing. You guys are all helping each other through this class, so make sure in the future for your peer editing, responding to your peers' work, or even just posting your work, that you do the work in full. Okay, so I'm not going to harp about that too much, but I was very frustrated and disappointed when I heard that some of you had not completed the surveys, especially when I asked you to complete them and made sure that you complete 13 of your peers' surveys. So I'm going to let that go for now. There's nothing I can do about that, but just kind of step up for the next couple of assignments. For all of you, those who did all of the surveys, thank you very much, and I really appreciate your hard work. So this week, again, there are 4 discussions due. I already have them posted up. Do this one by 6 p.m. tonight, and we're going to jump into the survey data. Okay, so I'm going to go back again to the zombie data because I think this has some good representations of what I'm expecting. I mean, I created it based on a class's responses to my zombie survey. We're going to start with, we're just going to go through this one real quick, and then we're going to jump into the discussion section so you get kind of some information about what I'm expecting in that section. All right, so for this, as we looked at before, here's the raw data for it. So I asked what emotions students have whenever they hear the word zombie, and as you can see, scared, scary, or fear were the top with 19. Excited was 8, and already I'm like, okay, that's interesting. You're scared, but you're excited, so that's kind of strange. And then anxious and anxiety is something I would expect to accompany scared, fear, or scary. But this is kind of like a roller coaster, how you're excited and you're scared. So I'm wondering if zombies can be compared to roller coasters, what that means, etc. That's just the first thing that I'm noticing in the data. All the rest of them are 1s and 2s, as you can see here. So that's how I visually represented it with a pie chart very similar to this one. This one is a little messed up because 9 should be here, as I've said in the other video, but this one is showing you the correct representation of the data. Also, you'll notice that the theme for the data is consistent. So I'm not changing between different colorations or whatever. I'm sticking with it. And we'll look at it kind of a sloppily presented paper in just a second to show you how distracting it is when you don't have a polished portfolio, or polished portfolio of findings, I guess. Polished findings section. Okay, so one last thing to mention before we start looking at the discussion section more closely. When you are representing your findings, make sure you represent them in a logistical order. So when you get to your discussion section, all of your findings will be before your discussion section, but when you talk about your findings, they should go in order of what you present them in your findings section. So finding 1 should be talked about first in your discussion section, finding 2 should be talked about second, etc. They should correlate 1 to 1. So in here, I have provided a little bit of summary, and then we go into analysis and some research. Remember that research, you need to have 4 of your 5 to 7 annotated bibliography sources in your discussion section and in your introduction section. So 4 for the whole paper. I'm recommending you put them in the introduction discussion sections. So overall, participants agreed that zombies not only made them think of something dead, lifeless, undead, a corpse, or a death, but also participants agreed that zombies mostly scared them. I anticipated these results, so this is all summary so far. And then this is me kind of reacting to them. I anticipated these results as the word death and scary are often associated with zombies, such as in The Walking Dead, according to Kyle Bishop. So here would be a good place to add research. Kyle Bishop is one of the foremost zombie researchers from Haitian voodoo zombies all the way up to The Walking Dead. So I would reference him as someone very knowledgeable on the subject. This demonstrates that most participants are familiar with more traditional zombie tropes or the Hollywoodized image of the zombie. Their familiarity reaffirms my hypothesis that zombies are trending right now, as most participants had similar results and were familiar with one or more than one movie choice from Finding 3. So here I would just mention something about Finding 3, but I wouldn't go into it fully until I discuss Finding 2, because again, it should correlate 1 to 1. If I find, or if you guys find, that when you are writing your discussion section, you start talking about another finding, like Finding 5, with Finding 1, then you can just move the order of your finding section. That's no big deal. Another thing is, so all of this is summary, like I mentioned. You've already presented it in the findings, so we don't need a lot of summary. The second thing is kind of a response to that, and then I wove in research. And then the third thing is an analysis. So analysis language, you can kind of force yourself to do analysis rather than just summarizing the data by using words like demonstrates, shows, proves. This demonstrates that. This shows that what? So you're saying, here's what's happening and here's why. What is it showing you? Why is that important? Okay? And then I even talked about my hypothesis a little bit more here, and then I compared it to another finding. This part is not necessary. You don't need to compare your findings to each, like every single finding to each other. If you're finding similar trends in the data or it's important to compare them, then by all means go ahead. But this is just one example of a paragraph that might exist for a finding. And I would go into a little bit more detail here because obviously I don't have the research added. I just put this is a good place to add research. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this one here, which correlates with finding number 4, which was the origins of where people thought zombies originated. And I got a lot of different responses, as you can see, just to refresh your minds. People said the 1930s, zombies originated then. They originated in China, Greece, or with the Greek or the Egyptians. Ancient history. They originated with the Black Plague, lepers, religious texts, witch doctors, Europe, specifically Russia. No idea. 3 people said that. Some old storyteller. So I even put that in quotes because I thought it was, I used the survey respondents' words, and I thought it was funny but also useful. And Caribbean voodoo, culture of voodoo. So it originated actually with voodoo, so 2 people got that correct. but the range of answers tells me something as well. And what it tells me is, all of this is again summary. There's a little bit of analysis here, but this is really where the analysis, it starts with the word therefore. Therefore, finding 4, which I just showed you, demonstrated that participants did not know, and I forgot the word know, the origins of the zombie. This is important to know because of how overwhelmingly unsafe/scared zombies and representations made respondents feel. It is clear that respondents related zombies to contemporary societal concerns of viruses, but are not interested/concerned with understanding their origins. Zombies, therefore, can be seem to be a fun, dangerous way of engaging in entertainment. They may inform us of our concerns with viruses and ennui, but they ultimately are preserved at a safe distance behind the television/laptop screen. So here, this is kind of like an example of an overall consensus that you should arrive at by the end of your paper. The thing that you should not do at the end of your paper is say, well, I don't know why the data points to this conclusion or points to no conclusions. That would be kind of, that's the job of the paper, is to have a research question and then attempt to answer it in some way. So basically, I'm saying that that kind of roller coaster effect of being scared and excited is because there's no real threat in terms of zombieism. We view them as entertaining but not dangerous. So because they're preserved, or they're behind a television, laptop screen, they're not in everyday life. Anyway, so that's just an abbreviated example of some of the survey data. Let's jump into that bad paper I was telling you about, or the paper that didn't really represent findings very well. And we'll go through this whole paper and my comments on it at a later date in a different video. But for right now, I want to just focus on the findings section. So here you can see he did an interview, which was required of the normal semester class, or the spring semester class. Here's figure 1. So as you can see right off the bat, there are several things inconsistent with it. The title of it, most watched genre of movie, you can just put your survey question for your title. That's completely fine. And then genre is capitalized, but watched isn't, movies not. So if it's a title, then capitalize it like a title. But if it's just a question, then just capitalize it like you have on your survey. That's fine. The other thing here, you've probably already noticed, 28 is followed by 11 and then 22. Just have it be in order, so it's also easier to see. The colors make it easy to match, but we can see comedy is number 1, then thriller should be number 2, but it's not, it's 11. So you can just kind of read it down the line. Also with capitalizations, you'll notice thriller here is not capitalized, but everything else is. That's another thing to keep in mind. It deals with your ethos and how you're presenting data, these little things. The 0%, I have no clue what this 0% is. Also, it's in a different font than the paper. The background is shaded and it's also off the margins. There's just a lot going on here, and it's sloppily put together. So a lot of these things I'm going to try to help you with through peer review and through discussion, the discussions that is due today. But have that eagle eye approach to proofreading your own papers. And again, the writing studio does take online appointments, so you can send your paper with a request for editing/help to the email that is on the Writing Studio's web page. So here again, we have kind of a different chart. So the coloration is similar, but as you can see, like the numbers now have a background. He has the question here, and I'm not sure what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 means. Does that mean like not likely? Is this a Likert scale? The background has changed, the font is different. So again, it's just not 1 being the most, 5 being the most. So this might be better represented as a table instead of a pie chart. So that's one thing to think about as well. All right, his next finding, have you watched the scary movies? Why have you watched the scary movies you've watched? So again, this is all over the place. I can barely read them. These things you need to delete if you have them here. Also, if you're worried about the formatting changing, you can just send me a draft. Say, hey, did the format change on this? And I'll look at the formatting very quickly. I won't look at a full draft because that's what I'll look at when they're due on Friday. But formatting issues can be kind of tricky, so I can look at those for you. Another thing here, One of the last things is he just put a yes or no. So here's why I'm saying don't put a yes or no, because this can be better represented and take up less space in a bullet point. And he has enough, as you can see here, he has 10 pages, and they had to do a little bit. He didn't have enough